As a child growing up in this area, I remember the former Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church. And I remember Father Lukey. My grandparents actually came to church here. And now in the fall of 2018, this church, the former school, the rectory, and the convent will all become part of a campus for Catholic social services.
Basically what we did, Lisa, was the offices where we were located at 214 West Walnut Street, we gutted that entire building, and it is now going to serve as the home, the final home, permanent home for Divine Providence Shelter, as well as some other residential programs.
Since its inception in 2016, the Divine Providence Shelter has managed with temporary homes, first rotating its location among various churches throughout the area. Then the Good News Church stepped forward to offer space for the shelter until this new home is completed.
For the last at least year and a half to 2 years, we're so grateful to Good News Church because we were able to use their building as a temporary location for the shelter.
So now you'll have this building converted into the shelter. What do your plans also include? Because you're moving your offices as well.
Boy, it's been just a lot of transition, a lot of change, and very exciting too, because believe it or not, this building, when we moved into this building 14 years ago, it was the former Our Lady of Mount Carmel School and Rectory residence. So actually the whole place is being converted back again to a residence. In the interim, we were actually next door in the former church, which is our family center, and so we had cubicles set up for our offices. The pantry was in the lower level, and that's still the anchor for that building. A lot of other community events and activities that were taking place there and will continue to take place once we move out and move offices. And those offices are now going to be located in what is, or what was, I guess you could say, the Kennedy Lucadamo office building. And that was actually the convent for this. So it's going to be a campus setting.
Thrilled with the successes of the program, Oberto couldn't help but praise the volunteers who make it happen.
There's a reason why it's called Divine Providence. There's been a small battalion of volunteers who have provided evening meals since this program started over 2.5 years ago. It's amazing. So from that, another program in the building will be a program that we're partnering, actually they're contracting to us, Luzerne, Wyoming County Mental Health Services. And they recognize the need for more permanent housing for young adults who are aging out of the system. And so what we're doing is actually providing what we're calling transitional living services for these young adults between the ages of 18 to 26. It'll be a place where they will be able to come, they will be able to stay up to about 18 months, I believe it is, 16 to 18 months. While they're here, they will be connected to resources that they need to move towards self-sufficiency. So we'll be looking at life skills, we'll be looking at employment, education.
Amanda Deichroth is the shelter's coordinator and a case manager. She's very dedicated to her job and she's excited about the changes being made.
Right now we house anywhere between, I would say, 10 to 15 residents a night. They have case management. Every person gets a case manager, which is myself. But there's also a lot of people that don't make it to the step to go inside of the shelter. What I do is anyone that needs to go, that needs housing at the shelter, they do an intake process with myself. And I try to see what I can do so they don't need to go to the shelter.
Those who meet the criteria for the Divine Providence Homeless Shelter will enter through the door right behind me. They will come over to this area where a registration table will be. They will sign in and take a breathalyzer test. The remainder of this huge open area will be divided into two parts, sleeping area for men and a sleeping area for women. While the job is certainly not an easy one, it is the success stories that keep Amanda and her colleagues going. Success stories like Benny Faulkner, now a former shelter resident. Benny moved from Philadelphia to Hazleton, was promised housing, but when he arrived in the city, the manager who had promised it was nowhere to be found.
I was promising from somebody an apartment. And when I got to Hazington, I couldn't find the manager to get that apartment. So I called for help, and I found Catholic Social Services. I met over the phone a lady, very generous, Amanda, and she asked me to come down. I got housing and food and what I need at that time. What I was doing, what I was supposed to do, trying to get myself acquainted and familiar with the town. Mm-hmm. So I hope to gather a group of Hispanic to start up a tutoring program on English as a second language. So I got my group already, and I'm teaching English as a second language to a group of Hispanic that are here, and they don't have any way to get that education.
With this program, you get what you put into it. We've always said that it's 90% their responsibility, 10% mine. I can guide someone to where to go and what to do, but they need to do the legwork. And I am so glad to say Benny is one of those people that did the legwork and is very successful.
Peter DeMarco is the facility manager for Catholic Social Services. He believes there'll be even more successes once the new building plans are put into place.
So when we started out, we were going from one church to the next week after week. On a Monday morning, you would have some men there with trucks picking up all the belongings, all the beds, and bringing them to the next church that would volunteer. We managed to go from there to allowing them to use Good News Church as a temporary shelter for the last couple of years and to stay in one location. So that was one step in bettering the shelter. And now as we come into this facility, it just makes everything so much more under one roof. It combines where we would send people to the YMCA for showers constantly. Somebody can come home from a hard day's work and take a shower. Whereas prior to that, they couldn't do those types of things. We have the kitchen where our volunteers that bring food every night have expressed a lot of interest in being able to just cook right here and make the food instead of bringing it from home.
While no one ever plans to be homeless or in need of help, the community can take comfort knowing that the shelter and Catholic Social Services are ready to help in any time of need. Reporting for SSPTV News, I'm Lisa Sugart.